Well, Joe, I mean, we went a little off the rails, but I'm kind of glad.
I went way off the rails.
I need more stuff. Can't see, I need more stuff. But now it goes. I'm keeping up with the Joneses.
Hello and welcome to Eternal Durdles. I'm your host, Zach Clark, and with me today, a very special guest, Joe Cherries. Joe, how are you doing, man?
I am doing very, very well. How are you doing today? I mean, my day's been pretty awesome. I've actually only done this today, so it's a pretty exciting day so far.
Yeah, I had a pretty good day. I've edited some video. We had a pre-modern episode that Phil and Nate did earlier, so I'm editing that. They banned land tax in pre-modern, so some big news there. And then I had a league game earlier where I played an 80-card Death Shadow deck against Blue Red Delver. So it's been a packed day for me.
No, yeah, I literally have just gotten out of bed. I watched my partner play some Legend of Zelda. That has literally been my whole day.
That's a great game. I'm having a lot of fun with that. I have like a build, like a pre-made build where I can fly around on like a go-kart. It's super fun.
I mean, the whole game looks really, really fun. I've never been a Legend of Zelda fan or anything, so.
I mean, I could go. We had a whole podcast where I went on for like 2.5 hours about how much of a Zelda fan I am. But yeah. So I think what I want. So this episode one, plenty of people know who you are, but I think there's not as big a crossover with my fan base to yours. Which so I want to introduce people to you, Joe Cherries, one of the most prolific EDH Commander content creators out there.
Yeah. All right. Well, I can do that.
Yeah.
I'm Joe Cherries. I'm formerly of the Nitpicking Nerds. I recently left from the channel, but the channel was well over 100,000 subscribers. All we did was talk about Commander. We had daily content, 3 long-form videos a week. And basically, I just always would every single set. I diving into the new cards, talking about Commander. That's what I did. We had some gameplay, everything Commander. I do enjoy all things Magic the Gathering, but Commander was my specialty. That was what I focused on. Pretty much the only format I play nowadays, even though when I got into Magic, it definitely was not Commander. It was all 60-card format, standard, modern, a little bit of Legacy. Now, I was never a huge Legacy player. I only ever played one real Legacy event, but I enjoy a lot of Legacy content. I watch a ton of content about Legacy, but I never play it.
Yeah. So what did you play when you played in this one Legacy event?
This was years ago. This was I'm sure it was GP New Jersey, and this was right around the release of
Cons, right?
Cons,
yeah,
yes, it had to be Cons. Yes, it was right around the release of Cons and Tarkir because Treasure Cruise and Dig Through Time were both legal in the format at the time. So I was playing Blue Red Delver, and I got crushed. I mean, the whole field was ready to beat Blue Red Delver.
It's true.
But I was not an experienced player of Blue Red Delver, so I just, I was out after around like 4 or 5 because I won one game, and I played poorly. I really just didn't know the format well enough to be competing at that time. It's just like I could probably do better now, but I'm still not very good.
Yeah, I mean, I went to that tournament. I played Rug Delver, which was a dog because everyone else was playing Treasure Cruise, and I was relying on my graveyard for threshold creatures. So
no, you
I
still
did
playing
not
Nimble
well
Mongoose?
Yeah, I was playing Nimble Mongoose. I actually sold, how they had the brainstorm playmat and the sleeves?
Yeah.
Because that deck had gotten so bad, I sold my brainstorm playmat and sleeves for like the $80 that the vendors were giving for it to get the last 3 foil Nimble Mongooses I needed for the deck because nobody wanted to play Nimble Mongoose anymore.
Nobody wants to play it at all.
No one wants to play it.
Very
not
dead.
even me. Not even me.
Very, very, very dead card in the format now. It is not even remotely. It's funny how things change over the years. It's just like you think about like cards that have just come and gone, like Factor Fiction, where it's just like it's gone, right? It's completely gone from Legacy, but it was a staple. It was a staple of Legacy at some point. And that's just like crazy thing to think about.
Yeah. So anyhow, the aside from having my fans get to know you, what I wanted to put to people is they're gonna be I'm sure people coming in, they're like, what's Joe Cherries doing? Why is he on Eternal Durdles? So there are gonna be some EDH people here for sure, and I want to entice those people to start playing Legacy. To that end, I also want you to convince my viewers, the Legacy players, why they should be playing EDH.
Yeah, I mean, I am. Why should you play EDH? Because it's the best format. It's easy.
It is. Well, I think we both feel that way about our format, right? I always say that if you look at any of my Twitter posts, I don't even talk about Legacy that much. I talk about Magic's greatest format. That's how I feel about Legacy. I won't even name it. I'll just say Magic's greatest format. Yeah, I think that's the thing is like both of us love our respective formats so much, and it just kind of, I think it would be a service to the community to transfer people over to the other formats.
Yeah, I mean, I could absolutely do that. Like, I feel like I could pipe up Commander for days.
Yeah, of course. Full disclosure, I play Commander a lot. Actually, that's actually how we met is through Moxfield. I have my friends run Moxfield, and we met at what's called Minneapolis, and we were playing some Commander there.
Yeah. What deck were you playing that day? I can't remember.
I was on a Reanimator deck with Sephiroth.
Yes. Dungeons. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, the dungeon deck.
Yeah. What was I? I played my Henzi deck, one of my favorite decks. Yeah, we were also playing with Aspiring Spike. Also was playing that game. Yeah, he was playing my Thalia Get Rog Monster deck.
Oh yeah, another great crossover player there. You know.
Yeah, he's pretty much exclusively 60 card format. Player. He plays pretty much all modern, but he's going to be in Barcelona coming. I don't know if this is before or after Barcelona coming up. Probably
it'll be before.
Yeah. This will be before Barcelona.
When is Barcelona? It's not next weekend, right?
I think it's next weekend.
Okay, so this will be coming out the Monday after Barcelona.
Okay, so Barcelona has already happened, or I've got my dates mixed up and it's about to happen. Yeah, he's playing there. I mean, it's fun. This is like the cool thing about like Commander versus 60 card formats, Legacy and Modern, where it's for a lot of players who play a lot of 60 card formats where it is strictly competitive. That's what Commander is intended not to be. It does the exact opposite, where it's just intended to be fun. You can just do big, dumb, silly things and not care about winning. Like, winning is a secondary in Commander. Like, I try to win every game to an extent. Like, not literally winning, but you don't have to. And like, that's a good relief when you're used to that 60 card sit down. The whole point of the game is you win. Like, you don't have any other goal. There is no. It's not about having. Like, you are having fun, and the other players are having fun because you're playing Magic the Gathering is a fun game. But if your deck is a stacks deck, it doesn't matter. Like, that's a huge difference. Like, my Death and Taxes list that you have no fun playing because I'm Rashadi porting you, I'm wastelanding you off your lands, and I have Thalia out so you can't cast your spells. It's like, that is a completely legitimate way to just play the game.
It's acceptable,
and go about it, and it's acceptable, and it's grindy. But you go into Commander where it's like, that's a completely different thing. That's not an acceptable thing to do, and the whole goal is fun, and it's just a big switch from trying to win every game.
Oh yeah, I think Smokestack is one of those cards that, like, if someone were to play it against me in Commander, I would be like, okay, what are we doing here?
There's definitely cards like that. Winter Orb is probably my one, where it's like, that's the card where it's like, like, if you didn't bring up beforehand that your deck was playing a Winter Orb type of fact, it's like, but it's like, if someone plays Winter Orb in Legacy, which no one does, because it's not very good. Stasis is probably a better example.
In the sideboard of Rug Delver, we used to play Winter Orb, actually.
Yeah, used to. 10 plus years ago at this point. But Stasis does still see a little bit of play. In fact, Stasis is like its own like archetype, like tier 2 or 3, but like it's still its own like archetype out there. And like, if people play that, no one's really mad. Maybe they don't have that much fun, but like, it's acceptable. It's like, that's just not an acceptable Commander thing. It's like it's a good comparison where it's like, Legacy, all winning. That's all that matters. It's what you're playing for is to win. Commander, you want to win. Everybody wants to win, but it's all about fun.
Yeah, we're having a good time. We're hanging out with friends. That's
exactly.
Honestly, there's a thing about Legacy where so much of Legacy is also about the community and hanging out with friends and whatnot. But when it comes down to those 50 minutes in between, like during rounds, it's cutthroat. You know, like everybody's out for themselves. But then there's meetups afterwards. There's alternate formats and stuff like that we're doing. Obviously, a lot of the content creators and stuff are hanging out, and I love hanging out with people in between rounds and talking about the format and stuff like that. It's just that those 50 minutes in between are what I would say the not fun times where you're just like, I have a thing to do and I'm trying to do that.
Yeah, agreed. It's completely true, and it's not even that it's not fun, right? Not fun is the wrong word. It is a fun time, but it becomes cutthroat, right? Where the goal, like if you especially like think like in like let's say like the deep rounds of like a old GP or if when you're playing Pro Tour, there's nothing. All you're playing for is to win. Like that is the straight on goal. You don't care. Like something you're gonna do in Commander that you're never gonna do in Legacy is make a silly fun play. You're just not gonna do that in Legacy. You're not gonna go like,
not on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. You're not gonna go over the top, make a silly fun play that's just like, haha, that made everyone laugh at the table. It's like, no, you're never gonna do that. In Commander, you do that. You're gonna like. It's funny because the game, like you're mentioning, like the Magic is a completely social game, and everybody, like everyone says the biggest part of Magic is the gathering. It's like getting together with your friends, hanging out. It's like these big Magic events are awesome, and what Commander does is it kind of extends that into the actual gameplay, where now the gathering becomes part of the hangout, the game playing becomes part of the hanging out, whereas that's not necessarily true when you play a format like Legacy, where it's like you really just want to win. And also, a big point to Legacy that Commander does not have at all is it really fuels the competitive nature. Now, we can talk about CEDH, but we're going to talk about most people play Commander, which is very casual. Yeah. So you don't get really that competitive drive or feel. At least I don't, and I don't. I used to. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I really don't get that competitive drive and feel from it. And that's completely fine. But when you play Legacy and you play other formats, 60-card formats, you get the competitive nature, the competitive feel, the drive to win that is completely kind of removed in a casual game of Commander.
Yeah, I feel like there's for especially for me, I'm not a Pokemon guy, so this is gonna sound strange, but there's a little Ash Ketchum inside of all competitive Magic players that just like do want to be the very best, and Legacy is a perfect version of that thing. It's like you really want to play to the best of your abilities. You want to win, you know.
Yeah, before I started playing Commander and it became my primary format, that was what I was doing. I was going to GPs, I was doing RCQs as they were called at the time. I was grinding all the events, or PPTQs. I think they were called PPTQs back then. I remember playing actual PTQs, PPTQs. Now they're RCQs, which I've never actually played one. But it's like I was trying to get everyone. I was trying to make it to the Pro Tour.
On the grind, yeah.
I was on the grind, and I don't think I am a specifically very good player. I think I am decent. Like I will make the right play, probably a solid percentage time. But I don't think I'm that great of a player. But that's kind of the only way I knew how to engage with Magic, especially at the time, where it's like that's all you can play. If I'm gonna play, I'm gonna play to win the game every time. And actually, that caused a big issue for me going into Commander, because I still brought that with me into being too competitive in Commander, to the point that it was unfun sometimes to play with me with how competitive I got. When it's like, that's when I was just trying to have fun, and I'm like, no, I'm trying to win. I'm trying to win this game.
I remember the first deck, the first deck that I bought with the intention to play Commander. I bought the Edgar Markov deck. And went home. Like this was like at an SCG event in Philadelphia. I went with some friends, and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna go back to my place and play EDH." And I was like, "I don't have a deck. I'll just buy one." So I bought the Vampire deck, and I took it out, and I was like, immediately, I was like, "Let me just go through my cards and figure out like what would go in this deck." And my turn one play after I fixed my deck up was, I was like, "Okay, Krakus, go!" And they were like, "Absolutely not." I was like, "What? How's this card banned?"
Yeah, Krakus is a funny one. It's so funny because it's like Krakus as a card is not broken in Commander. It definitely is not broken on a power level scale, but it is absolutely against the whole idea of what the format is trying to do. And it is absolutely hilarious. I love Krakus as a card. I think it is an absolute stellar design of a Magic card, but it just doesn't work in Commander. It's like, legitimately, it's like one of my favorite cards. I love Krakus. I never get to play it. Literally, I don't even know if I own a Krakus anymore. Like, I played Death and Taxes in Legacy for a little bit, like on the side, and like I always loved like Thalia block, bounce it back to my hand. That kind of stuff was always super fun to me.
Well, I think a great place to start with this like symbiosis of these two formats is the shared card pool. I mean, it's just so easy to go. All of Legacy is basically Commander and vice versa. Like you can use any of the cards in the game's history minus the ban list.
Yeah, and it's super duper interesting. Both formats do have ban lists, but they're very different, right? Like they're very, very different. They do share certain ones, like the Power 9 is banned in both. Like, except that's not even true. The Time Twister is legal in Commander for some ungodly reason. Yeah. I really don't understand that. I mean, honestly, the card pool is completely shared, and actually, it makes for something completely interesting that happens all the time. Commander product itself is consistently putting cards into Legacy to the point that it's like joked about that it's just basically Legacy, or Legacy is just like when my favorite joke that I saw online is that Legacy players complain they don't get product, and then somebody showed it's like, but they get all these, and it was just a bunch of Commander products. It's like,
yeah, it's just like
these are all Legacy products.
Like something like 20 Commander products now.
Yeah, exactly, and it really does have a huge impact on Legacy. You look at Minsc and Boo, the Initiative. I mean, there's things
Fourth
all over the
Aerolingus
place.
Is the big one right now. That is replacing Entreat the Angels and Miracles.
Yes, I've seen that. Yeah, where you get the creatures, you get the Monarchy, which is absolutely a buster mechanic. Monarchy, another mechanic that whenever it's on a playable card for Legacy is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, Palace Jailer kind of fell out of favor, but it was seeing some play. It still sees a little play from what I've seen. But like Palace Jailer is so dumb. When you can hold the Monarchy, it's the same with the Initiative. When you can hold the Monarchy or the Initiative, it's just so broken in one-on-one. I played a lot of draft formats where the Initiative, or not the Monarch was in it. It's the worst. When somebody has the Monarch, it is the worst gameplay ever, because it's just like they keep it, they win, they draw a card every single turn. How do I ever beat that?
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing about so the Monarch in Legacy, we've kind of solved. We've kind of all come to a consensus that like this is whatever. But man, people you either love the Initiative because you're playing it, or you absolutely hate it. There's no in between.
The Initiative is a really, really interesting mechanic because there's a couple things about it. One, in a one-on-one environment, it is very easy to keep. So when you're able to keep it, it becomes very, very powerful, and it is frustrating. But ultimately, like we were just saying, it is on like the same kind of power level as the Monarch. I think the Monarch is a little worse, but the Initiative is a little better. But regardless, another thing that is very interesting about the Initiative is its complexity. As when you actually think about, like, it doesn't seem, when you play, say you play on Magic Online, which is where most Legacy is played at this time, it's not that bad, because you play an Initiative card, the dungeon pops up on your screen, and then you just go through it. But it's like, when you're playing the Initiative in paper, you need to have this card and then a whole separate card to tell you what to do with the Initiative. And then you have to understand the Initiative, like, in a way to mark it's like, you need the card that tells you have the Initiative, what the Initiative does, and then the dungeon itself to tell you what to do in the Initiative. It's like it is one of, if not the most complex mechanics of all time. So I understand a lot of the hate for it. Also, an advantage the Initiative has over the Monarch is that whereas the Monarch doesn't want you to replay new Monarch creatures when you're the Monarch, the Initiative does, because the Initiative re-triggers when you play another creature. So if you go initiative creature, you're just going another step down the dungeon. Yeah, it's pretty wild. And then the other thing that's great is there are so many shared cards that are like so consistently played in EDH 2 Legacy. Like almost every deck, I can't think of a deck for the most part that doesn't want to play Ancient Tomb or Dual Lands. And so many people have those. One of the things we say in Legacy a lot of times is how Dual Lands are actually expensive because there are so many people playing EDH that have those that are never seeing play in any other format. They're just like stockpiling them in their EDH decks. I mean, I have one of each Dual Land that just sit in a binder.
Yeah, I think everyone should.
which is just so I can, like, basically I just put one of each in the binder and then proxy them in my decks, so I don't have to have like. But like, it's really interesting. One thing I love about the shared card pool, like you were just talking about, I love looking at the cards that see play throughout formats. You're right, Ancient Tomb is one of them, where Ancient Tomb is absolutely maybe not 5 color decks, but even 5 color decks can play it, where it's like, literally Ancient Tomb sees play and everything. And it's like in Legacy, any deck that is trying to be fast is playing the Ancient Tomb. Like Ancient Tomb is such a ubiquitous card where it's like, your fair Delver decks, that are like super mana efficient are playing it, but it's like, there's black Stompy, there's red white Stompy, there's white Stompy,
8 casts. Yeah,
they're all over, and Ancient Tomb is all over the place in the format. And it's if not for Rule 0, which is making players play weaker decks, Ancient Tomb would also be all over Commander, and it is in CEDH. It's a lot
I mean
of
that's like
CEDH
an automatic include in almost every CEDH deck.
Yeah, except for maybe there's the ones that have like the same kind of Delver feel, where it's like you're just trying to be hyper efficient to the point of like everything's pips. So it's like Ancient Tomb doesn't do anything.
I have Anya Falconwrath, and that deck doesn't really want it because I'm trying to create a red and a black mana and get my thing down and then win the game. So two colorless isn't helping.
Spin through your whole deck. I'm just a silly guy. Another thing about the sheer card pool I find extremely interesting is sometimes the failure to recognize that cards don't translate to Commander, and I think that comes in the form of very specifically Brainstorm.
Brainstorm is a classic example.
It is very high. Brainstorm is one of, if not the most powerful card in Legacy. Period. Like it is, and like that is the completely. They don't want to ban it. That's fine. Like, and it's not really a broken card, or it is a broken card. That's not true. It is a broken card, but it's broken in a fun way that makes gameplay not unfun. So, like when you think of like Oko being a broken card, like I would say Brainstorm's a better card than Oko. But the vast difference is a card like Oko's play patterns are incredibly unfun, whereas Brainstorm makes for more fun play while being broken. So that's what's fun. So going back to Commander, players look at Legacy, see how powerful it is, and just throw it into a Commander deck.
Not always the optimal play there.
When you don't have the consistency to shuffle your deck at the rate of like Legacy, you always have a fetch line. You always have that ability to fetch. It's very rare you get Brainstorm locked. If you get Brainstorm locked in Commander, which is much more highly likely, it's just Brainstorm's terrible if you can't shuffle. It's terrible. Like it's not a good effect. It's it's not what you want to be doing. But when you can't shuffle, it's broken, and that's why in Legacy it's broken. In Commander you can't do that, and I find it's very interesting.
Better in fours.
it's much better in fours, that is very true. It's just not. Commander is like a format where the things that Brainstorm does, you don't really need per se. It's still really, really good when you're shuffling your deck, but like, I don't know how, like, even if I'm playing a 5-color deck, I only have, in my 100 deck, you have the 10 actual fetch lands, Prismatic, Vista, and maybe one other, I can't think of, Fabled Passes. We'll say you're playing all those. That's 12 in a 100-card deck. Whereas in Legacy, you're playing like somewhere between 8 and 12 fetch lands in a 60-card deck. So it's like, that's a huge difference for the consistency of shuffling.
Yep. Yeah, I think another thing is that, so when we're talking about, like, as a Legacy player, I'm buying the Commander decks, right? You're gonna buy them anyhow because you're like, oh, I need this card or that card, and then you just have a stockpile of like, half-eaten Legacy decks, EDH decks, and you got to do something with those cards. They're just bulk sitting around. So one of the reasons why I got sort of into EDH is because I was like, well, I've got these decks, and I have all this bulk that's like super fun to play that I'll never play otherwise. And I just started throwing them into random EDH. Like I have, if we look up here, there's my EDH decks.
It's a lot of EDH decks.
It's like 25 decks. And it's just because, like, I just have the cards, and I just want to, like, okay, like, let's play. Like, let's throw a bunch of random cards together, and this is my theme of this deck, and I'm just doing it. So you don't have to, like, break the bank on a mana base or whatever. You can just throw it together and be like, okay, we're going to have fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Commander is, that is a vast difference. Like, where if you want to compete in Legacy, most decks are going to always cost you something very expensive. You can really just play with the precon. You can just go spend what should be like $30 or $40, but it is now $60. The new ones are $80 to $140. It's absolutely absurd.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not here to complain about all that. I can complain about that for hours. That's a whole nother podcast. But you can really just go buy a Commander precon and play and have fun. Whereas if you do that with Legacy, you're just going to 0-4 every event. It's like, oh, I went and I spent like $50 to get a Legacy deck. It's like, you'll have some fun, but you're not going to win. You're not going to compete. Like, even the cheapest decks, which are like, what, 8-cast is like probably the cheapest.
Yeah, probably one of the cheapest, like at least at a competitive tier. Yeah,
tier
like
1 deck. It's like the cheapest. It's still several $100s. It's still
it's like $2,000 actually. Yeah,
it's $2,000.
Yeah, approximately.
I thought it was way cheaper than that.
No, unfortunately, it's about $2,000 for 8-cast.
God, Legacy. What's Force of Wills.
Force of Wills, Ancient Tombs, Mox Opals.
Oh, Mox Opals.
Yeah, Mox Opals are a big part of it too.
Chaos is such a fun deck, but
it's still like relatively easy to get into as far as like you can acquire these cards over time, you know?
Yeah, okay, I got a subject to bring up for this that I don't think is on the script here. A big thing that affects both of our formats hugely is the reserve list. Hugely. It's the reason that ultimately you can't have you can't really have Paper Legacy anymore. Like, it does exist like in a small subset.
The big tournaments exist, yeah.
Yeah, but it's still so tiny. And Magic Online shows that the format's still relatively popular. Like, people care about this format and like this format, but what's driving so many people away from it is the price, which is driven highly by the reserve list.
Yeah.
And one of the big things, it does the same thing to Commander, where it's like, we don't get to play dual lands. It's like, it's a reason that CDH is even less popular, because it's like, if you want to play CDH, you want to build your deck, you need dual lands. Like, that is the when you build a CDH deck, you're building to be as optimal as possible. That is what CDH. I don't know. Your fans probably know, but it's competitive. Commander. It's competitive Commander. So you're building for those 1%. So you're trying to make your deck as much as possible. And even though like getting all the dual lands probably increases your win percentage by like 0.5, that's it. Like, it's not much. You're still going to get that because that you want to be as competitive as possible when you're playing in the competitive scene. And that drives people away from Commander as well on the same scene. It's sad because I really just, the reserve list hurts so much for these formats.
Well, I think that to that end, I think that's why CEDH over the past like 4 years has risen in popularity so much, because so much of that community is proxy friendly. That has created this sort of like, well, you know, like I don't have to spend like $800 to build this deck. I can just like put it together and then like proxy the other couple of cards, and there we go. We can go, you know, like there's a couple places that run those tournaments, and you can go and compete and like have a pretty good time. Have basically what is a legacy experience on the cheap. And I think that's one of the things that particular version of Commander has going for it is the embracing of the proxy situation.
Yeah, I honestly think it's something overall that should be like the Commander community overall is very, very proxy friendly, which is amazing.
Yeah.
It just what ends up happening, like the only reason Legacy can't be, the only reason is because what the events that run are officially sanctioned, and Wizards just can't allow that, right? I mean, it makes sense that they can't allow it, but it's like it kind of sucks. It's like I really do wish that like if they would only make one exception, that reserve list cards could be proxy. It's like that just makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like these are cards that like my favorite argument that BZ has made, and every single Commander player who's playing a blue-black deck or a Legacy player who wants to play a blue-black deck needs Underground Sea, at least one for whatever deck they're playing. If it's a blue-black deck, there's not enough Underground Seas to Commander decks or to Legacy decks. And to that end, that is hugely problematic. There is nothing else like that in Magic the Gathering. There is plenty of every other card in existence that everyone who wants to play one can. Are some of them expensive? Yes. And prohibitively expensive? Yes. That exists. But they can always reprint those. And even when they become prohibitively expensive, we can get new versions of these cards. That can't happen. And we're stuck in a place where literally the number of players who want Underground Sea is greater than the number of Underground Seas. And that sucks, that we're stuck in that spot where everybody can't play the cards they want. And literally not because they can't afford them, but because they don't exist. There doesn't exist enough of these cards for everyone who wants to play them to play them.
Yeah, it's funny to think of it in those terms, because when you think about like, you know, Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, and Revised for dual land purposes, only so many were made. You know, and there are now, you know, I don't know what the exact number of people that play Magic are concerned, and I want to talk about those surveys in just a second as well. But you know, they know the amount of the amount of people, and the number is vastly larger than the number of Underground Seas that exist in the universe. You know,
it's just sad. I mean, hopefully over the years, or hopefully something changes. I don't know what. Like I can't. Like I am not Wizards. I don't make these calls. I don't know why they keep. And ultimately, I mean, no, I do know why. Like, I would say I don't know why, but I can give you the vast reason why they don't reprint the reserve list. They don't think it'll make them money. They think it'll lose them money. That's the only, and that is the only.
That is
reason.
the correct answer. Yeah.
The correct answer is always money, right? It's just like, why won't they reprint the reserve list? They feel it'll cost them more money than it'll make them. Period.
Joe, have you ever taken those surveys that Wizards of the Coast does?
Once a while ago. I find them laughably bad.
I agree with you.
I find them laughably bad, and also I think it leads to misconceptions on Wizards' part. Before you get into your part about the survey, I have an interesting anecdote about it. I think it's the reason that we don't like. So you know how they keep making all these changes to standard? They just changed rotation. It's because I believe I do not have a lot of evidence for this, but I believe it's because of those surveys. They asked people what they don't like about standard, and they said rotation. The real answer is people don't know what they don't like about standard. There is something people hate about standard, and that's fair. And do I know what it is? No, but I know that people don't know what it is. They don't know why they don't like the format, and so what it's leading to is what they're just asking. They're getting answers, and these just aren't the right answers. There's
a bias already built into the survey. What is the survey of their answering? What do people think they don't like about this? It's not what they actually don't like about it. Well, the reason why I ask about the survey is I would take them occasionally, especially as a Legacy person. I would try and take it and skew it as much toward Legacy as possible, which is already hard to do because, really, are they listening to me? Probably not. But one of the things that I kind of never understood until I started playing EDH was in these surveys they always had this thing what's the most important thing about Magic the Gathering to you? And there would always be a scale of I firmly agree, I completely disagree. And one of the things that they would always ask is how important is this to you? Being able to express yourself through deck building. And I was always just what does that mean? I don't agree with it at all. Until I started playing EDH, and I kind of understood where they were going with that, because I don't see myself in Legacy as I am a 8-cash player, I am a Delver player. Even my online persona is Dirtle Magus, and most of the decks I play are not control decks. They just used to be. But I see myself as more mercurial and competitive. But when I'm playing EDH, building decks that are weird and fun, that's that's where the expressing yourself sort of comes into play.
Yeah, it's super interesting. See, the term expressing yourself always hit me the wrong way, because I never looked at it as a form of self-expression. Self-expression I feel is something much deeper. What I look at it is just what do I find fun? And I've never really put it into the term self-expression personally. That's just not how I ever thought about it. But it does make sense. I do build decks that are unique to me in ways, and that is something unique to Commander, right? That is something you don't get anywhere else. Where you can brew in Legacy, obviously, where it's you can maybe put 2 or 3 fun cards that kind of are off meta. But ultimately, if you go too far, you'll just start losing. So you really can't do it at some point. Where in Commander, you can just go the crazy route, and it's sure, you might lose, but that ultimately doesn't matter, because the ultimate goal is fun. So if you're having fun, then that's what matters. A lot of my decks I build are just big stompy, and like I said, I wouldn't personally use the term self-expression. It's just what I enjoy. It's not me expressing myself in a way, or I don't know, self-expression has a very deep meaning to me, much deeper than it goes in Magic the Gathering. Yeah. Where it's when you get gender identity, it's literally something much deeper than it's just I play the cards I find fun, and I find big stompy dumb things fun. That's what I enjoy about Magic the Gathering. Whereas somebody else might literally enjoy anything, Beezy, for example. Beezy wants to reanimate everything from his graveyard, and he wants to do it over and over and over again in the silliest fun ways. And he wants to cast 1,000,001 spells. He just wants to spin his wheels to the point. But it's those are completely different play styles. Yeah. That it's that's what you pick what you like and you do it in Commander.
Well, I think that is a particularly great segue to a small point that I want to make, and that is that both formats have sort of an argument right now on the playability of Grave Titan.
Really? Commander has... Or wait, Legacy, anybody thinks that it's playable?
So Grave Titan used to be a prime reanimation target. That was the card if your opponent had a Caracas in play, or a way to get rid of Grizzlebrand, you were entombing a Grave Titan and playing that, and that got around Liliana, which doesn't see any play anymore. But there was a point in time where that was the second best thing to be reanimating.
Yeah, I assume Archon has completely overtaken
Yes,
that.
yeah, Archon just ended that. But I know that that's kind of a meme for you guys is Grave Titan.
Yeah, Nitpicking Nerds. I love I do love this story. Years ago, we had a Twitter account with like maybe 40, 50 followers, maybe 100. I don't know. It was not. We didn't use Twitter basically at the time. So we made a video all about cards that we basically thought if you're trying to power up your commander deck, you should never play. And one of the highlights, no, not the highlights. One of the cards in the video that we thought nothing of was Grave Titan. And like literally, we feel in Commander, if you're trying to power up your deck and you're trying to make it stronger, Grave Titan's an easy cut. It really doesn't provide anything unique that you can't get somewhere else for less mana. So overall, vanilla 10 power for 6 mana is not good in Commander. That's terrible. It's not a good rate. That's not what you want to be. It's not what you want to be doing. And I know it makes more after it attacks, but it's like, even if you can guarantee 2 attacks, like, do you want a vanilla? You want to play 6 mana for vanilla 14 power? It's like, that's still
by the time people are ostensibly getting 8 mana, they're doing things that are much more powerful than 14 mana spread across 5 bodies, right? Well, 14 power spread across 5 bodies.
Grave Titan is 6 mana. 6 mana.
Yeah, I'm saying like by the time like you've gotten those extra bodies, like everyone's got 8 mana.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like you can do much more powerful things at that mana cost. And like, I know you don't need to do broken big things, but the whole point of this video was, hey, if we're looking to improve your deck, here's cards we would cut.
Yeah. And
for some reason, this caught on. This video became like we were said to be encouraging pub stomping, which we never were. We've literally never encouraged anything along the lines of pub stomping. And it just turned into a thing. But the card defended most from this video, just like unbelievably, was Grave Titan. And it was mind-boggling because it wasn't even the strongest card we put in the video.
Yeah.
Like, we put other like stronger cards that were like more defendable than Grave Titan. So it's just like, what is this? So it's like, it turned
people
into
love
like
Grave Titan, man.
People love Grave Titan. Ultimately, I know why. The card is cool. Grave Titan as a cool card is like top of the line, and it's why it still sees playing Commander. It is a giant that has zombies pouring out of its stomach. It is grotesque. It is cool, and people love it. And it does have combos, though. You can count that those combos that it does have are all doable with cheaper cards. But people love it, and this hate became a meme, and it became the Nitpicking Nerds hate Grave Titan. It's like, how do I really feel about Grave Titan? I am so indifferent about Grave Titan. I just don't care about it. I would never put it in my deck. I've tried, even for like the memes where it's like, I was like, okay, I built Ishin, who is doubles attack trigger. So I'm like, let's try Grave Titan. Grave Titan has an attack trigger. This is interesting. It ended up just being, I had to, every time I would add cards, it was always the top card to cut. It underperformed at every corner. And it really isn't good in Commander. And I've played against it. I've played with it plenty of times to tell you that it's just not impactful enough to put into a Commander deck if you're looking to be up in the 7 or greater power. Now, if you're lower than that, it's fine, obviously. And obviously, I'm just using the number scale, which is obviously out of date, not very good. But there's just not a much better way. If you're looking to play a powerful, tuned Commander deck, cut Grave Titan.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I might still have it in Sephiroth, but like that deck is just full of things that like I just want to get a creature into the graveyard that I can get out of the graveyard. So like you get to a point where you're like, well, this will do, I guess.
But it's also completely fair to play. It's not like when I say this card is bad, I don't mean that doesn't mean you shouldn't play it. It means if you're looking for power, you shouldn't play it.
Yeah,
there's like just a vast difference. And as we've gone over many times in this video already, Commander is about fun. So ultimately, it just doesn't even matter. If I say a card is bad power-wise and you want to play it, it just doesn't matter that I said that. And I think there is I don't know if this is true for Legacy, but in Commander, there is a big issue with if you call a card bad, players take it personal. They turn it into, when I say Grave Titan is bad and they play Grave Titan in their deck, that turns into, well, I play Grave Titan in my deck, you're saying I'm bad. But it's like, no, that's never the case. When I say a Magic card is bad, it does not mean the player playing it is bad. Oh my God, I could go into a whole spiel about saying how people just don't understand that a critique of something they might be a part of or be playing is not a critique of them. It's like, and people just fail to understand that in so many ways. It's just like,
Joe, I think you've just summarized the internet today in 2003.
It's very true. I mean, I think, like, let me, a very broad example is I can say Wizards of the Coast, the company, is terrible and doing terrible things, which I think is true. And they are handling Magic poorly in a lot of ways. But that doesn't extend to, like, for example, Gavin Verhey. I am in no way insulting Gavin Verhey as a human, who is just a great human who is doing good things. Just because the company he works for is not the best does not mean he is problematic. It's like, oh, Wizards of the Coast is problematic, therefore the workers are. No, that's just not how it works. And that's how people take, when you say Grave Titan's bad, they take it as on bad.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with you that the stewardship of the game is under duress at the very least, but I don't think that means that the actual individual employees that work there are bad people. You know, like, there are people making bad decisions for sure, but like, I think attacking them or even, like, I mean, there's just so many things that are going on. Like, if they put a gun to my head and said, look, we can shoot you or do the reserve list, or, like, you get fired or the reserve list, I'm gonna be like, yeah, well, like, that's fine, like, keep the reserve list, I just want to keep my job, you know. Like that, you know. And there are decisions that real human beings have to make on somewhat of a daily basis that you know, parallel that to some way, maybe not to that extreme, but they have careers and stuff like that they're pursuing. So it's impossible to, at least to me, it's impossible to blame.
I can never. Yeah, exactly. It's so important to differentiate that. It is so important, but a lot of people don't do it. That you can call out something that is problematic, and the people who necessarily are there doing it for, an example, and like, you can cut this in the video if you don't want. I've been very vocally against the ambassador program because of how it's being run. I just believe, to put it simply, I believe creators deserve money and not just product for the work that they are.
I'm leaving that in for sure. Yeah,
for the work that they are doing. That's simply what I believe. I believe that the ambassador program should be paying the content creators in cash. Yeah. Now, should they get the product as well? Yes, that's awesome, and it helps them. But I do.
It's also, the product is quote unquote free for Wizards of the Coast.
Exactly, it is. It is costing them next to nothing to give. And from what I can tell, I do not have the contract. They are under NDA. I do not have everything. From what I can tell, they do have to do a certain amount of content. Everything under, I would assume everything under the hashtag MTG Ambassadors is something that Wizards of the Coast wants them to be doing. And I don't know if there's more. I assume there's more that they have to do to get this stuff, but they should just be paid in cash. And when I criticize the ambassador program and I call out all the problematic things I see, I am in no way ever saying anything bad about the ambassadors. I am friends with so many of the ambassadors. I love almost every single one. I can't think of any of them that I don't like. They're all great people. They're all great content creators. And I would have taken that deal in a heartbeat in the beginning before I was being more critical of it. I wouldn't take it now more out of principle. I still think the deal would be good for me to take if it was offered to me, but out of principle right now, because I am being so vocal against it, I want to be consistent with what I'm saying. I wouldn't take it without there being cash offered in that contract. And simply
that was the same thing with, like, the cosplayers. Like, they were like, we're gonna give you a gift certificate to, like, Joanne's. I'm like, are you serious? Get the hell out of here.
You go back, take a step back even further. How long? Tens of years were Wizards paying judges in product. It was terrible.
Might as well pay them in exposure.
Yeah, it's garbage, and that just is not. It is not okay. Now, if we were talking about a small indie company that was trying to do these things, okay, it's way more understandable. We're talking about $1 billion company that can afford to pay these people cash. And simply put, they're not. They need to be paying these people cash. I believe
and they're getting this at a discount. Like, you could literally be like, well, we'll pay you $100 a video or whatever, and I'd be like, yeah, sure, I'll take that. Like, I just want to do good by the thing that I love. But, like, when you're at a point where it just feels like you're being taken advantage of, I think that's where the line's crossed. You know, like,
exactly. It's like the people being. It feels like people are being taken advantage of, and that's where it feels bad, because this is what people are seeing. An ambassador sees my tweet and they feel, I say, hey, I feel like you're being taken advantage of, and they're like, I don't feel that way. Well, it's like, that's okay. If it's like, it's okay that you don't feel the same way as I do. And even if none of the ambassadors felt they were taken advantage of, it's still on paper, looks like they're being taken advantage of in such a way. Like, content is hard. You know it, I know it. We've been doing content for a long time.
Yeah, man.
This is not, it's not like making content is easy. It's not like it doesn't take hours and hours and hours to produce content. So for Wizards to be getting it ostensibly for free just does not sit right with me. And I will stand up and I will say this, I think this program is extremely problematic. It's just, all I want is what's best for all the creators. I don't need to be part of this program. I don't care. If I would, people, there's been a huge thing where it's like, people are like, oh, people are jealous of the program. And like, some people are jealous. That is true, right? It's like, there is jealousy. And I'm going to admit, in the beginning, I felt that jealousy. I definitely felt that jealousy. But over the time, it's like, my problems with this program don't stem from jealousy.
Yeah.
They stem from wanting the creators to get what's best for them, and for this business just not to be taking advantage of people. It's like this program can both be doing some good in that it is helping a lot of creators, and still be extremely problematic in that it's not paying creators in what pays the bills. Money pays bills. And a lot of people love this argument, and this was an old one used for the judge. This stuff that they're getting is worth money that they can sell. That's not a good argument. It's never been a good argument. Ultimately, selling
you pay me in a house, I'll take a house.
It's like, ultimately selling something takes time and effort to do. So now you're putting that time and effort on them. Where it's like, that's just not how it should be. They really should be paying these creators in cash. I support content creators, and I know how hard this game is. And like I said, I would have taken the deal in the heartbeat. So I am in no way faulting anyone for taking the deal. I support you for taking the deal. I support you for doing what you feel is best for your content creation career, because that is ultimately, it probably is best for your content creation career to take that deal. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that I think the deal is good. It's just, I feel it's problematic. And also, this extends back to what we were saying before, where I'm not criticizing the head of this, I believe is Deanna DeMarco, I believe is her name. She's awesome. She's a very nice, kind human. I've met her. I've chatted with her. I have nothing but nice experiences with her. She's the head of it. And I am not criticizing her. I'm criticizing the program.
She probably also
itself.
Didn't choose that particular deal. You
of
know,
course
like she's
not.
just the face. You know?
Exactly. She's just the person running it. She's just the person she is the head of what something relations. I don't know. She has some technical
content creator relations, I believe.
Yeah, and she's put into a position where it's like, sure, she might want to, even if she wants to pay content creators cash, she has to go through a ton of red tape to get there, right? Yeah. So it's like, I am not criticizing the people, the person running this program. I'm criticizing the company as a whole. This program is doing good, but it is ultimately, in my opinion, taking advantage of content creators, and that is not good.
Yeah, so personally, I didn't feel like I had a tinge of jealousy there, because I just never felt like that I was someone that they would pick to be an ambassador. So it never was a situation where I was like, oh, like I'm bummed that they didn't pick me or whatever, because I'm gonna do what I've been doing what I've been doing for free for 12 years now. But there's a solidarity there with the other people working, you know, like, and that to me, I completely agree with your point, where it's just like, come on, like, people working deserve money. That's just, it's that simple. It's like the bottom line, you know?
Yeah, don't pay people in product. It's just not a good way to go. It's not a good look. It's also, I cannot confirm or deny this because I have no clue what the contract says. But on paper, it looks like what is called bartering, which is just the legal term for the exchange of goods and services for other goods and services. And it could be worded in some other way, but that's what it looks like, bartering. And if it's bartering, not only do the creator, if it is bartering, which I can, again, I am not complete, I don't have a contract, and I can't have it looked at, because so I do not know. So to be very clear, because I posted this on Twitter the other day, they will have to pay, if it is bartering, they will have to pay hundreds on tax in this. Yeah. They got nearly $1,300 in market value product.
And so they got like $300 or $400 in like goods that they're going to have to be taxed on. Like they're going to have to pay out at least that much.
Well, so in bartering, I did a lot of research on bartering because I've been vocal about not liking this program. So in bartering, it's income. It's taxed as income, which is somewhere between, usually depending on what you're making a year, like the lowest is 12%. The absolute lowest is 12%. And the highest is like in the 30s. But that's not going to be that high for most people. But it's because the tax is income. It's also based on fair market value, which for the product they are getting, like I said, is $1,300. So it'll be treated as they were paid $1,300 in tax on it if it's barter. Again,
so they're literally losing money in that scenario.
You would actively be having to basically pay for the product still. So while providing them a service, and just none of it sits right. Now, is there ways this contract could be worded that perhaps it isn't bartering? Maybe, but then it comes off as even weirder to me because it's like, what's the other option? The only other option I can think of is it being gifts, right? They can do it as gifts, but then the content creators are making content for free.
Yeah.
Right? In exchange for potential gifts. I don't know. It's there's this whole contract, this whole thing is I have a huge issue with the abuse of another thing I've researched a lot recently is the abuse of NDAs by corporations. There is no need for this whole contract to be under an NDA. It is absolutely 100% not needed. The only thing that needs to be under an NDA within this contract is that you cannot spoil our product. Like when we send you Commander Masters early, you cannot show that early. That is what needs an NDA. That is necessary. It's very, very important. But there is no reason for this contract to have an NDA. And the simple fact of the matter is, the only reason I have so many friends who are ambassadors, the only reason I can't give you a full rundown of this is because they can't show me. Because
they're sticking to the rules. Yes.
I would never expect them to break the law and break an NDA for me. So it's so frustrating that I can't get that I, as somebody who wants to be informational and supportive and like report to this community about stuff, I can't give you the full details, and it's only because this NDA is in place purely to protect Wizards. It does not in any way help the content creators, and that's how this whole thing feels, right?
You know how this feels to me, Joe, is I don't know how heavy you are into the Dungeons and Dragons like OGL stuff, but it feels like that.
Yes. I mean, it's all like that. I can get even political. We just live in a society. We live in America, which benefits corporations beyond belief. And everything is to benefit corporations. And ultimately, all these deals, everything Wizards is doing that's helping the community isn't to help the community. It's to help them.
Let's
and
be
everything
honest. It's definitely to help them. We all know that.
And of course, on some level, that's always going to be true, right? Yeah. But when it is so when everything is so in favor of them, it is horribly problematic. They need to be doing more to actually support the content creators instead of this. It's a facade. I would almost say it's a facade to look like they're supporting content creators, because it doesn't, like, they're like, we are supporting content creators, but it's like, not really.
No, they just got a bunch of free advertisements.
Yeah, and exactly. They're not even paying for the free advertisement. They're sending product to them for these free advertisements, and it's horrible. I don't like it. Like I mean, ultimately, I'm always going to speak out against Wizards. Like going forward, my channel was never about in the past Nitpicking Nerds before I left. We were just never about this kind of news stuff. Going forward, I am going to be covering this kind of stuff a lot more. Like I want to be vocal against like horrible I want to be more along the lines of like doing what the Professor and President Kenobi are doing, where they are very outspoken against Wizards of the Coast, which just it's so important. This company is constantly taking advantage of its fan base.
Well, it's not even that they're unspoken about Wizards of the Coast. They're just critical of their bad moves. Like when they make a bad move, they're critical, and I think that's an important part of any fandom.
Yes, exactly. A lot of people, and ultimately another thing that this ambassador program does is it puts, though it's probably not, though I have no clue, not in their contract that they can't say like anything bad about Wizards of the Coast. They're just not going to, right? Like if you're an ambassador and this is an opportunity for you, you're not going to start saying,
you couldn't, I wouldn't do that.
And so you end up in this weird situation where there's 80 to 100 ambassadors, something like that. And all of these people who are content creators who talk about the game are not going to talk and are getting free Commander Masters product, aren't going to talk about the real problem with Commander Masters, which is its price point. Like, we are seeing, like, so to kind of come back here, Commander Masters as a set is a greatly designed set. I will say that. I want to give credit where credit is due. The set is a really, really fantastically designed.
Great reprints too.
Because I'm in a situation where I am not struggling with money, I'm going to buy some of it. But what really sucks is this is for the casual format. This is supposed to be a product. Commander is the format for the people, for everybody. Everybody can play Commander, and for the product to have a $500 price point for a box is absurd. And that sucks.
Criminal.
That really, really, really sucks that the average player can't get their hands on this. And it's just...
I won't be buying it. Like, I can't, I can't just throw out $500, while I'm looking for a job, that's crazy.
Exactly. And that sucks. Because this is, I feel like, one of my, I look at I look back and, one of my least favorite, my two favorite sets of Magic, probably of all time at this point now, are Commander Legends and Commander Legends Baldur's Gate. Now, both of them weren't perfect. So what I love about Commander Legends and Commander Legends Baldur's Gate is I love the draft formats. Commander Legends printed a ton of awesome new cards, it did a ton of awesome new things, and it had splashy, cool reprints. And where Baldur's Gate failed is it didn't have the splashy reprints, and it really didn't have value, but the boxes are like $80 still. Holy crap. Having that $80 box, it made that set amazing.
And also, those cards aren't bad.
Yes.
You just didn't get a Jeweled Lotus,
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a fun draft format.
Exactly. And Commander Legends was like $100 a box. That was perfect. And even though Commander Legends only came with the 24 draft packs, so it was less packs than normal, that was acceptable. It felt like an acceptable thing. And now we're getting 24 draft packs in our booster of Commander Legends for $500.
5 times the price.
5 times the price.
What?
And that is absolutely unacceptable. It's not okay. And we really need, and ultimately there's something else that we need to return up, and it's MSRP. It's something that's not talked about a lot.
Yeah.
MSRP, people don't understand why it's important because it's not talked about a lot. But the reason that the Commander Legends Sliver decks are currently $140 is because there is no MSRP. There is no expected to be sold for value. So places are just going to sell, obviously, they're going to sell it for as much as they can. And people don't know where to expect these prices because we don't have an MSRP. Whereas when you give an MSRP for something, it keeps prices near that, right? Hey, MSRP for these new Commander decks are $60. Okay, we know to find and expect them at $60, but without an MSRP, we're just going to get the highest prices people can charge.
Yeah, you're going to have to go to a Target or something like that and just hope that there's one there, to get what still is not even a sane number to be paying for a pre-con Commander deck.
You want to hear something hilarious? I hate the business world. I am not a fan of the business.
I don't find that hilarious. I find that correct.
Well, what's funny about it here is I do not like the business world as it exists. I don't even like being involved in it, and I avoided it for as long as possible. The Nitpicking Nerds basically didn't get involved in any sort of big businessy type things at all until relatively toward the end of me leaving, and that wasn't the reason I left. To be clear, it just the last year we had gotten more businessy, and I hate it. But I know so much about it because I need to be critical of this damn company, and I need to call them out because I feel like I have some sort of obligation, as I am a talking head and the voice of the community. So it's I feel the obligation to research this stuff. Like I said, I know way more about NDAs than I care to ever know. I know way more about all of this crap. Bartering. I never knew what bartering was till 6 or 7 weeks ago when I started researching it. It's just or whenever the ambassador program came out is when I started researching bartering. It's I don't want to know this stuff. I don't care. I hate this stuff with a fiery passion, but I feel like it's a necessity for me to know it because this company is run. It's so crappily that I feel like people need to actually know and hear what's going on to the best of my knowledge. That's so I can help people understand that, hey, this, I know everyone says it's Wizards of the Coast just isn't your friend. And it's true. And Wizards of the Coast is not the friend of any of the ambassadors. They're not friends to these people. They are ultimately, and this will always be true, even if they pay them cash, they're a means to an end. It'll always be that way. That is how businesses work. Everything all the customers, the content creators, everything is a means to an end. They are not your friend. They are nobody's friend. They are a business. And to remember that is super important, because we want to believe that the game that we love cares about us, but it doesn't. It just, and it never will. It can't, in the system that we live in. As I go on to an anti-capitalist spiel again, in the system that we live in, it just cannot happen. Business will never care about people, and the businesses that do care about people have a ceiling. What ends up happening, you just, there are a lot of great real businesses out there that put people first. Those businesses get stuck in this middle ground where they can't be the huge corporation, and that's just what happens when you put people first, which is unfortunate. It just shows how broken the system is.
Well, Joe, we went a little off the rails, but I'm kind of glad
I went way off the rails.
Yeah, we went off the rails for sure. But I'm glad we did, because one, it needs to be said, and two, it's really important conversation. But coming up to the end of the podcast, one, I want to give a quick shout out to my sponsor. You know them as well as I do, Moxfield.com.
So Moxfield.com is literally the best deck building website. I'll shout them out for you right now. I use Moxfield.com all the time, and the fact is, you want to hear something amazing?
Speaking of businesses that are good for people,
yes,
right?
Businesses that are actively working and good for people. Harry, you want to know how good how much a business that actually cares about people? Harry reached out to me and offered me, before I have my new thing, to sponsor my channel. I don't have a channel yet. Harry and John are two of the most supportive human beings in the world, and like I said, business, it is ultimately not that good for business, but it is good to see good people doing good things for the community. The only reason Moxfield exists is for the community, and is only helping the community. They obviously are benefiting and getting their benefits out of this, but they did this for the community. I've
had the pleasure of knowing these guys for 30 years now, and
I only met them 2 months ago, and like I said, I've talked to them online for the past 2 years, but honestly, John and Harry are two of the nicest human beings I've ever met. And it's you want to support a business, support Moxfield. Go to Patreon, support Moxfield's Patreon, and so they can continue making that website as good as possible. I just think about one of my favorite things they just did recently. They respond and they make things for people very quickly. Thraben Yu, who makes legacy content actually. Phil Gallagher, awesome guy. I love Phil Gallagher. He makes legacy content, but he was displeased at Moxfield.com was displaying, if you put an ancient tomb, it was displaying because it would Balin's tomb. Yes, exactly. And so he was like, "Hey, can you fix this?" They did it in a week. Yeah, they did it. They made a little setting checkmark. It won't display those names. It's wow. It's that is the kind of things that you love to see. It's
a great story is when we met at Minneapolis, we were talking with Aspiring Spike, and Harry Harry looked at the Twitch thing and realized that they could integrate Moxfield into Twitch, and you and I had planned with them to go out that Saturday night, and I got pretty tired, and they ended up skipping it to create the integration to put Moxfield onto Twitch that night. That's ridiculous.
Listening and hearing what people have to say is absurd, and it helps them too, right? I love it. Because it was me and Braden who were like, you should be doing Aspiring Spike, because it's he's one of the most, it's his decks get a certain amount of views. You want people on Moxfield, get Aspiring Spike. And they did. And they put all that work in to get all of that. It's cool to see, because they are doing it. It is actually nice to see a business that is both simultaneously supporting and helping the community, and they are getting their benefit. They're doing that for a living. It's they understand that the people out there, they're not taking advantage of them. They understand that these people are what makes the website exist, and they are, like I said, two of the nicest and sweetest humans in the world. And I love it. I absolutely love, and not only all that, the website is amazing.
Yeah, it's a very good product.
It's literally I always have this memory. You should be
building your decks there. If you're not, and you're using redacted website, just give it a try. Go to Moxfield.com.
I will always have the memory of BZ using as the joke goes, redacted website, because we can't say redacted website, but
of course,
he used it for 10 plus years. 10 plus years of building decks on redacted website. And then I started using Moxfield because a friend of mine suggested it. He was like, hey, try this. So I started using, like, this is really good. And like, BZ, try it. And he's like, I don't know, I've been using this other one for 10 years. And he's like, holy crap, this is like 100 times better. So BZ gave up something he had been using for 10 plus years because this was that much better.
Yeah. I had an app that I used on my phone that like I spent $5 on, and when my very good friend that I've known for over 30 years was like, I have built a deck building website, I was like, I don't know, man, I spent $5 on this other thing. He won't ever let me forget that. But
that's a good story. I like that.
But yeah, so I say all that to say this: Moxfield.com, they're amazing. You should definitely be checking them out. Joe, before we head out, so you're working on a new channel. Do you want to tell us anything about that? And you don't have to, but
so right now I'm currently in the process of building everything. I am taking a lot of time. I suspect by fall I will be making videos. If not fall, the latest is the end of this year. I'm taking my time. I'm going slow because I have a couple of things coming up. I am moving to Portland, Oregon, in probably next month. At some point, I'll be moving to Portland, Oregon. Hopefully, be there by September. I need to rent a place. I'm going to make a studio for this new place. It's going to be as professional as I can possibly make it.
Like a video studio.
Yes, it's like
nice.
I'm renting an individual space. I am very fortunate that leaving Nitpicking Nerds, my best friend BZ is taking care of me money-wise. So I am very fortunate. Like I said, I say this all the time, but it's like me leaving the Nitpicking Nerds was a really hard choice, and like there was sour feelings at first because it's hard. I changed my whole life around this. I built my life around this channel. And leaving was ultimately the right choice because BZ's my best friend and I would not trade. I would gladly give up my half of the Nitpicking Nerds to have my best friend, which is ultimately what I did because we were reaching a point where we just disagreed, which is okay. It's completely okay. But his support, leaving the channel, is ultimately what makes me realize, yeah, he's an amazing friend because I am going to be able to start my own channel because of him, because we're taking the time to, he's helping me, supporting me. He's going to shout me out, and like I'm going to do everything right. I'll be in Portland. If you want to be the first, I don't know if I have any subscribers yet. If anyone wants to try and find the channel with 0 subscribers and no profile picture yet, 'cause I'm getting that made. Joe Cherries MTG does exist. It does exist on YouTube, but I don't think anyone's subbed to it, and it doesn't even have a logo yet. So it's like even finding it would be.
Oh, I'm about to become your first subscriber, my friend.
But I'm going to be making Magic the Gathering content. I have plans to do a podcast with content creators that live out there. Veggie Wagon, if you've ever heard of them, and Mauled Hound. They're both
awesome.
Yeah, they're such nice humans, and I'm super excited to do a podcast with them. And like I have lots and lots and lots of big plans. I have this really long script written out all about like Magic the Gathering formats that I'm planning on doing. But it's so much in the works, but nothing is up yet.
Well, awesome. Yeah, and don't hesitate to tap us over here, of course. You know, yeah, it's so great to see that you're moving on to another project, and you know, I know I'm speaking for myself, but I think I'm speaking for a lot of people watching. We kind of can't wait to see what you come up with.
Thank you. I am very excited. Like I said, there was a grief period, as with everything, where it's like I was struggling. It's like I always knew I was going to come back and do more content. I wasn't even sure if I was going to do Magic content. Basically, I thought it might be too hard, but it's like ultimately it's one of the things I care about the most. And it's like Magic the Gathering as a game ultimately is just amazing. I love this game. I have a deep passion for this game. I love Commander, and I love all formats really. Like I said, I do love Legacy. I watch so much. I've considered like in the past month downloading MTGO just to play Legacy. I watch so much of that content. I love Legacy content. I love modern content as well. But it's hilarious. I don't like Commander content. I make Commander content, but I can't. I think it's because I'm so engulfed in making Commander content that I don't consume a lot of it.
I feel the exact same way. I've only really started like really grokking other like Legacy content because I think it's important to an extent to I think Stephen King said it best. If you're not reading, then why the heck are you writing, right? And so I think it's important to get that content. But one of the things I don't like is like I hate watching gameplay content.
Yeah. Gameplay is interesting. I make it I make a really big effort to watch Veggie Girl and Veggie Girl, Veggie Wagon and Nerd Girl. They have a show. I make a big effort to watch that because they are very, very good friends, and I absolutely like their show is very fun. I'm also going to be guessing on it. I could not, if there was ever a gameplay show, I would suggest it is theirs. I love those two to death. They are just lovely humans who are supportive and just want to help the community. I can't but they're the only ones I watch. It's because they're just amazing humans. Like I fall in that way for Commander gameplay because I do watch gameplay of Legacy, like I was saying, and Legacy and Modern, but I can't Commander gameplay. There's something about it. I think I've seen it before, maybe as part of it. Like I watched a lot of Command Zone in the day. I've watched some, like a bunch of them. But my partner, who's actually sitting on the couch over there, watches all of them. I don't know how he does it. Like literally, like he's like the most content I consume is hearing the content on his computer while I'm doing something on my computer.
I mean, my wife doesn't even play the game, and I think she enjoyed Nitpicking Nerds out of all the stuff that I would just be watching constantly, just be on, and she's like, oh, there they are.
We always try to be fun, and that's what I'm gonna try and do too. It's like being fun and just having an enjoyable thing. It's actually the reason, if you don't I don't know if you do know Maldhound and Veggie. The reason I brought them, I want them to be my co-hosts on the podcast I'm doing. One, they live in Portland, very important, very important to have
there.
Exactly. And the second is they're hilarious. They are two of the most fun humans I know. Like both of them do pseudo comedy content. They just do comedy content. Like Baldhound got huge on TikTok, guest on the Professor's show, and now he's doing YouTube, and he's still killing.
Now I know who he is. I know who he is.
His claim to fame is the Commander Roast. If you've seen,
he's like this guy over here.
Yeah, and he puts on a facade. He is the nicest dude. And the funniest thing to me was how normal he was in person. I talked about it because it's like he puts out it's a lot of people do it. You do a character, and that's what he's doing. He's doing.
Unfortunately,
a fun character.
This is just my persona at all times.
Yeah, that's me too. I am Joe Cherries is an extension of me. Is there slight differences? Of course, I swear a lot more in real life.
Yes.
But
same.
Joe Cherries is an extension of me. But Maldhound is a character. So it was interesting when he started talking to me. He's like, yes, I am a very normal human who does normal things. I'm like, stop it. You make fun of commanders right now and be silly.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say this about all that content, the stuff that I like and the stuff that I don't like. So much has changed over the last even 5 years that having checked out some gameplay content now, it's just so different that like it has actually become enjoyable for me. So it does behoove us to sort of check in every now and again and see if a certain kind of content is something we enjoy now too.
I don't know. I want to see something different out of gameplay. I don't know what. I've had ideas in my own head of like things that I could, but it's like all of it feels samey.
I mean, there's definitely a formula.
The biggest draws to each Commander channel is the personalities, right? So because what can you do differently? It's like, well, if you're playing cards, doing this. Also, Magic, personally, Magic just isn't an exciting game to watch without overall. It's
one of since the first Pro Tour to show it on
Magic's
TV.
Biggest weaknesses is that it is boring. It is from an observer's perspective. As a game, it is not boring at all. As from an observer perspective, the game is horribly boring. Yeah. And it sucks. That is true. But I talk about this all the time. The thing that Magic is a horrible spectator thing. Magic has a horrible IP that nobody knows. I actually just made a huge tweet about this. You can go read it. Nobody knows Magic ITs. You know what Magic has that nothing else has? It is one of the best games ever created.
Yeah, it is honestly, it's a game I never get bored of.
It's why we can have this company consistently make all these mistakes over and over again, and this doesn't matter because the game is so good. It is legit. Like for me, it is like, and there's obviously like infinite games out there where you could talk about, like, even if like you'd be like, oh, chess is a better game. But it's like, I don't know. I don't think chess is a better game. I think Magic is a better game than chess. And I think Magic is one of the best games ever made ever. And it's just like, that's what keeps Magic alive, is how good this is. I actually, in my tweet earlier, I said, I actually think it would be a better idea for Magic, for recognition and to get more people into the game, to just get rid of original IP stuff going forward.
And just go full universes beyond.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just make that your game. So this is, instead of being, nobody cares about Teferi. Like, the only people who care about Teferi are entrenched players who aren't leaving, except for, well, obviously if you do all universe beyond, you would lose some players, but the people you're never going to, Teferi is not bringing anybody in to Magic. Like, where Pikachu, like for and this is an extreme example because the most recognized, the most valuable IP in the world is Pokemon, but Pikachu is bringing people in to that by being this cute mascot that people love. It's like, but Teferi's not doing that. None of the characters, the Magic.
No child is like, ooh, Teferi.
Oh, Jace Bellerin. Is that Jace? Ooh, does he do mind magic? Ooh. It's like nobody cares. And that's why I'm like, just do it. Embrace it. I will say, to your point about chess not being a better game, we can, just some empirical evidence, Joe. You ever see anybody cosplaying chess characters? Chess, that is, to be fair,
like, I'm sure there are chess conventions, but do you think people like dress up like chess pieces at the conventions?
Yeah, I do. It's funny because I really do love the cosplay, and I do enjoy the original Magic characters, but I just know that they're mostly bad. They're poorly written characters. They have half of a personality. It's not, like you said, it's just not done well. It's like, I want the only sites that the hype that comes with and the excitement that comes with Lord of the Rings, Doctor Who, and all of these sets, even like Walking Dead back in the day, like that was a very exciting set. Like, obviously there was a huge problems with it, but it was exciting. Godzilla was so exciting to see. And the only thing I've seen match the excitements of these sets were 2 Magic sets in history.
Go on.
What are you gonna say? Hold on, I want to hear what you
I was gonna say March of the Machine. It was the only time I actually cared about the lore, and I got really hype about the lore because all the old stuff was coming back too.
Yes, I agree with you completely. Is it March of the Machine or All Will Be One? Which one had?
Maybe it was All Will Be One. Whichever one we're like.
I think it was All Will Be One.
We got Grandma Gear because I was like,
yes.
Oh my god! Like,
that's
all the planes, it's all happening.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. There was 2 sets that did this. It was All Will Be One / March of the Machine, whichever one had the multiversal legends, and War of the Spark also did this with its excitement for bringing all the planeswalkers together. These are the only sets I've ever seen in my 11 years of playing Magic that have even come close to the hype. The apps, and I don't even think they match it. The Lord of the Rings hype was unreal. Yeah. I've never seen a set hype like that. And even if you remove the One Ring, which also caused a lot of hype, it was still the most hyped set of all time. And then this Doctor Who set, it's only on its very beginning of being spoiled, and the hype is again unreal. And it's like, that's what I want.
I'm confused about why it's so popular, because it's such a to me it's such a niche thing, but like people are loving it, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I'm into it. If you're happy that you're gonna get your Tom Baker card, I'm happy for you.
Exactly. And ultimately, I want to, my point of it is, it just doesn't matter. The game doesn't change.
Yeah.
If the only thing that slightly changes is they try to be more flavorful, right? Which is fine. That's
get them altered into dragons, and you'll be fine.
You get more. What you get more of now is you get top-down design with these universes beyond, which I think top-down design is better. I think overall, when you do a top-down design, you end up with cooler, more fun.
Look at the One Ring. It feels exactly like you would want that to feel, and it wasn't a card that I would have designed myself. But when I saw it designed, I was like, that's exactly what the One Ring should feel like.
That card is broken. It's seeing a ton of Legacy play right now. A lot of different decks are trying. Like we were saying earlier, all those Ancient Tomb decks.
Yeah, I can't wait to. My other ones are coming in, and I can't wait to incorporate that into 8-cast / Blue Painter. Somehow.
The card is great.
What a rush!
It is. I would bet money that it's banned in Modern. I think it's going to be. I really think it's going to be the next iteration of the Rhystic Study, Cyclonic Rift, these super staples.
Like a must. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that good in Commander.
You want my prediction about when it's going to get banned in Modern?
What's that? Well, it's pro.
It'll be after the pert run is done. They're not gonna get rid of the marquee card.
How long did it take them to ban Hogak? Yeah, they took forever on Hogak, and that card was. No,
well,
I was gonna say
the problem with Hogak is that they unbanned Golgari Great Troll. Like, what are you guys doing?
That was not the problem with Hogak. Hogak was busted beyond belief. Like,
they were
that card was so bad in Modern. They're not banning it right now because the Modern Pro Tour is coming up. Also, this is a terrible time to ban it. You can't. So it's like I think it is Pro Tour Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
So it's like you really can't ban the one ring right now. It's not a plausible thing. Plus, you really need more stats, right? So it's like, let's have a Pro Tour. Let's see how many rings are actually there. Yeah. I really hope that after that they do ban it. But obviously, they're going to delay it as long as possible to sell as much as possible.
Yeah, and it'll drop in price a little bit too, so you can pick them up for your EDH decks.
That actually, before we wrap up, because I know we're trying to wrap up, which we have done a terrible job at.
It was like 20 minutes ago we were trying to wrap up.
The problem is, I haven't been making Magic content. I have a lot on my mind.
yeah, of course. It's been a minute, right?
But ultimately, this goes back to a point from earlier. Wizards of the Coast isn't their friend. They aren't going to ban the One Ring only because it's problematic. They're only going to ban the One Ring as soon as it makes them more money to ban the One Ring, which is after it's... as long as they can possibly go without losing players. So they're going to balance that. It's like, how long can we leave it unbanned so people keep buying? And then as soon as we think that's reached its max, bam, we'll ban it.
You know, a good thing that they did was including it in those bundles because at least you know where you can find it.
I bought like 7 of them.
Yeah, I mean, I only own 2 now, One Rings, but like if I could find a bundle, I would buy another bundle.
Every time me and Christian came across the bundle, we were like, Yep, we're getting that because it's like we play a lot of Commander. Like I said, I think
might as well have one.
I think it's that super staple. I really do think it is a Commander super staple that will continue to see play basically forever unless it's banned. But I don't see it getting banned. I mean, we have Soul Ring, and Soul Ring is more broken than the Ring, obviously.
Yeah. Plus, there's so many cards from the set that are just like good for Commander that like you're gonna open up something of value anyhow.
Lord of the Rings is another like. This is why I just kind of want to have these sets be like I'm sick of premium product that feels like it's for nobody. Just give me Lord of the Rings $100 boxes. Let's go. It's like that set feels amazing. It's like that's what I want. The best product I saw that I think Wizards has done in the past 2 years is Dominaria Remastered. That set had an amazing price point with amazing reprints.
Tons of great reprints.
But I worry that it didn't sell well enough. And that scares me. Like, I don't know how well it sold. I don't know. So, like, I can't speak to that because, like, obviously only Wizards has never. But I hope that was like an amazing selling set. I already know Lord of the Rings was amazing selling. I would be surprised.
I'm waiting for the second Lord of the Rings set to come out.
I would be very, very surprised if Lord of the Rings was not the greatest selling Magic set of all time.
I would put this Zelda Link's Awakening Game Boy cartridge down on that.
Ooh, what is that? $7?
Maybe. It's out of the box. It's the glitch one though. It's got the glitch, guys.
Speedrunners need that.
One of the first ones. I think this is probably a good place to cut it off, Joe.
I mean, I have about 200 more topics to go through, so let's end it now before I.
It's been a pleasure having you on, and I'm like I said, I'm super glad this went off the rails. I think we got some really cool information and just got a really great idea of who you are and like your takes and stuff. So it was a pleasure having you on.
Anytime. I mean, I love making Magic content. Like, it's bad because you can yell. I was late for this podcast. You guys can yell at me. We were definitely supposed to record earlier. I'm so bad at keeping a calendar. That is one of my weaknesses. But I am so happy to have been on. This was so fun. Like, this is what I love talking about Magic the Gathering. This like I said, I was considering not doing Magic content, doing more broad content, which has a higher ceiling but might be harder to break into. But ultimately, I was like, no, I just love Magic. This game is so good. Yeah. I could talk about it forever because it's just such a fun game.
Well, we gotta have you on again, and obviously, you're welcome to just hit me up whenever. Be like, yo, we gotta do it.
Just hit me up. So you gotta reach out to me only for one reason. I love being on. I'll be on whenever you want. So you have other episodes you gotta cover. You have lots of stuff to do. So whenever you're like, hey, like maybe like between sets and like there's not a lot to talk about, you can be like, this is a perfect time to have Joe Cherries on, and I will gladly join you.
Awesome.
Well, maybe I'll be in the Legacy by then, because I'm playing. I really am thinking about downloading MTGO. I really like Legacy.
I mean, because there's rental companies that will rent you decks and stuff like that. It's really cheap to get in online. I definitely think that is one of the greatest things about the format is the barrier to entry online is very, very low. It's like $30 a month or something like that. It's very low.
Yeah. Okay. Blah blah blah. Because I don't want to rant again. Arena economy is terrible. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, we can. That's a whole. Well, that'll be the next one I bring you back on for.
Cut the video.
All right. Joe, have a good one, man. Thanks so much.
You too, Zach.
Hey, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out this other video, and if you can, please support us on patreon.com.